Hi, welcome to this week's blog. Hey, do you enjoy going to movies? When you sit down and pick out a movie that you want to see, how do you choose? Is it based on the actor or actress playing in it? Is it based on the genre of the film? You want to see a comedy or maybe an action movie, or how do you go about it? Do you ever think about the material that's in that movie? You know, I want to take you back a ways to the 1920s and 1930s. In the late 1920s, silent movies were giving way to what they called talking movies. You know, these are the movies that we see today with actors having dialogue and so on and so forth. And the studios were kind of concerned because now that the audience would be able to hear the actors and that there'd be dialogue involved, it added a brand new layer of concern. When they looked at the theater in New York, the studios were quite concerned because the material on the theater, what's going on the stage in New York, they didn't think would play in places like Kansas. So when you looked at the material and the language, they thought, you know what, we need to get a code in place, something that everybody will agree to, and that's what we will put on the screen. So they went out and they hired an elder from the Presbyterian Church named William Hayes, and he started working on the movie production code. Started working on it in 1930. It was put in place in 1935. So in fact, I would challenge you to look at the movie production code of 1935. Some will call it the Hayes Code. But basically, any movie that was going to be released, in order to get a distribution release, it had to have a certificate from the office of this production code. So they had strict guidelines on what could be in movies. And it's very interesting. They really had some foresight with that too, because they realized the power of entertainment and the power behind film. The code said that there should be no picture made that would lower the moral standards of those who saw it. Now, you know, I'm taking it back to the 1930s, and this code was good until 1968, and then it kind of went away. But here's my challenge to you. What if you put the motion picture code of 1935 into your families? And you say, you know what, we're not going to go to the movie unless it fits the code. Is it going to lower the moral value of my family? Is it going to lower the moral value of the people that we're with who see this film? If it is, we don't see it. It says no picture, part of the code said, no picture shall create sympathy for any violation of the law, which means you can't be rooting for the bad guy. You can't be just watching crime and think it's okay. You know, you can't be upset because something is going on, you know, that may be affecting the law and going against the law. It said crimes against the law, criminals should never be seen as a hero, and crime should never be justified. You know, they realized that in movies you're going to portray crime, but it couldn't be done in a way that was glorious. It said that there was no illegal drugs. You could never show anything with illegal drugs. Think about how many movies right now wouldn't be made if you took the drug use out. It said that there should never be any type of mercy killing, you know, just killing for the sake of killing. That should never be on screen. It said police officers. There should never be a scene showing a police officer being killed by a criminal. And police officers included security guards, and back then they said motor truck guards, which we would know as armored truck drivers today. But no police officer, no law enforcement could be shot or killed by a criminal. How many movies today would not be made, you know, could not pass that code? Pretty much all of them. As far as something like prostitution, you know, they said, you know, that might be a plot. You know, you might need to put that in your plot. But if prostitution is in the plot, then it could never be shown unless it was shown in contrast, it says, to the right standard of behavior. So we could never glorify prostitution. You know, I think of a movie like Pretty Woman. You know, and I know Julia Roberts was in it, and I know people love her, and so on and so forth. But the role that she played and the way that was seen to be okay, that wouldn't have passed the code of 1934 and 35. And when it comes to sex, it says, you know, there's going to be that on screen, but whenever that is used, the sanctification of marriage always has to be upheld. Think about that in movies, if we use that for a standard. When it comes to adultery, it said if adultery ever became part of the plot line, it could not be treated to be justified, and it could not be used to be presented with an attractive proposition. So you couldn't look at somebody who's committing adultery and say, well, I hope he gets the girl. I hope that works out. That wouldn't fly under the production code. As far as religion, you couldn't mock religion, and you also couldn't mock pastors. Pastors couldn't be made to be seen as comic characters or villains. You know, there was respect for the church and the people of the church. Also, our national feeling was the flag. If the flag was ever displayed, it had to be displayed with respect and with honor. I'm telling you, the movie production code of the 1920s and 1930, if we re-implemented that into our families, and said, this is how we're going to choose which films we see and which films we don't. TV shows, episodes, whatever it is. Once you look this production code up and you see the truth behind it, let me challenge you, incorporate that into your family. You're going to be a little bit disappointed because there's not much out there that you can see, but it's going to make you a lot happier, I think, inside. Philippians 4:8 says, here's a filter. Let none of this stuff to come into your mind or into your heart. Look at Philippians 4:8. Look at the motion picture production code of the 1930s and enjoy television and movies. God bless you.